Welcome to Riverbend Talent on WBGZ. Brought to you by the Halpin Music Company.
Another Riverbend Talent on a Thursday night right here on the Big Z. Brought to you by the Halpin Music Company and by Mr. Matt Van Voorhis of Macias Insurance. He loves Mr. Donuts, and he also likes Midwest Motorsports, Town Club. You know what Matt Van Voorhis does? He tells me, just give my advertising away to my other friends. He doesn't even care if I talk about what he does. He just wants to spread the love, and that's Matt Van Voorhis of Macias Insurance and, most importantly, the Stubblefield Band. Big Pin's not here. He's down doing the sea shanty sing-along, I believe, at Morrison's Irish Pub, and he'll be heading down to the open mic later tonight at Ragin' Cajun. He might even stop in at Fast Eddie's and see Conlon and Nanny from 6 to 10, or might be out at Bethalto Spirits Music in the Park with the Boeing's Employee Concert Band firing up at 7 o'clock in Bethalto. Cash Goten, that's a grandson of the Outlaw Opry, right? 6 to 9 at George's Pub and Grill in Jerseyville. And the Owls at Grafton's Music in the Park. Up to 11 is playing up in Bunker Hill at Red's Tavern and Sage House. They also have the Speed Demons Car Cruise going from 6 to 9. Roger Jamison, he's at Wiggler's out at Holiday Shores in Edwardsville, out on the back porch. Grand Band at Big Daddy's in Edwardsville from 6 to 9. Ryan Holting at the Cabin at Judy Creek and Glen Carbon from 6 to 9. Scott and Michelle down at Deutz in Pontoon Beach from 7 to 11 tonight. Frankie and the House Shakers underway at Patrick's in Granite City. Merv 5 with special guest, I don't know how to say it, Aislinn, 6:30 at the Old Harold Brewery in Collinsville. Wonderful venue there. Lanny and Julie, 5:30 to 8:30 at the Prairie Inn and Dorsey. And underway, as always, down there in Belleville, they have the Experience Live Music Row, where all the venues get together and work together to create a music experience for everybody that comes down there. Brought to you by Neutral Vodka. Well, last week we talked to the band Impressions, who had a former Big Z member in the band, Neil Van Dusen, and they played over at Busch Stadium Tuesday night. Speaking of Busch Stadium, that kind of leads into our guest tonight, who's a former employee of the Advantage News, which is now part of Big Z Media. So it all ties together, Billy Hurst.
How are you doing?
Doing good. How you been?
Doing well.
Yeah. It's been a little while. The last time we talked, things were ugly. I don't even like to mention what it was because I'm afraid it might happen, if I bring up those ugly words.
It's like Beetlejuice. Don't say it 3 times.
Right. So we were able to get you on the show, though, because the Cardinals weren't playing. Everybody wasn't playing.
Well, they're playing, but I just happen to be off tonight.
No, I mean the last time you were here.
the last time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Everything was shut down.
It was shut down. You're right.
Yeah, and we talked about that, and you can go back and check the video out for that. But yeah, when the entire Major League Baseball shuts down, and we knew we were in trouble.
Big time.
And you were about to, I think, head towards your 20th anniversary for. That puts a mark on you, man.
Yeah,
it's a long time ago.
It's a half a lifetime ago. Even back then, I mean, I just turned 50, so I was 25 when I put my first record out.
Yeah,
so
well,
you were 25 years ago.
You were 4 years old when you started performing as Elvis.
Yeah, that's right.
And got in the Guinness Book of World Records.
No, man. You've done your homework.
Well, no, I've
you
talked
remember
to you.
things. I know. Got a good memory.
So you ever go back and crack that book open and look in there? And that was the thing back in the day, the Guinness Book of World Records.
Now you go online and everybody sees everything. I believe Bruno Mars at one point actually he kind of dethroned me as the youngest Elvis impersonator.
He's like 3 or something?
I think so.
How are you going to do Elvis at 3 years old?
Well, not everybody's as talented as Bruno Mars. That cat's got something special.
He does got something special, don't he? So, that was pretty wild. Then starting out as an Elvis impersonator, and man, you've had your hands in all kinds of things, and, photography is a big part of it.
Yeah, still is.
You started out doing youth photography, and Well, it all started with the flood, right?
Yeah,
in '93.
Flood of '93, just documenting the high water and how it just ravaged the area, displaced so many of my friends and family members in Grafton, and I just picked up a camera to document that. And then, obviously, having a love of music, I started shooting concerts. That was kind of the natural thing, which was weird, just shooting music here, and then I go to Music City, USA, Nashville, Tennessee, and there's no concerts to be had there. At that time, there weren't any shows. They had like the Opryland theme park or something, but not very many shows rolled through there. So that's where I started working in the sports field. So I'm in Music City photographing sports.
Right. So
Go
everything
figure.
starts when you're a youth playing sports, right?
Yeah.
So you're always a sports guy.
Oh, yeah.
But then when the flood hits, your job was to watch the water pump, right, in Grafton?
You've got a great memory, Dennis, man.
Well,
yeah,
actually,
we had the water plant make sure that we were pumping water out, make sure it didn't go under and shut off. So we'd work midnights and play. When we're not playing PlayStation, drag a guitar in there. That's how I learned to play guitar, was over the flood of '93. Taught myself how to play guitar.
And at that point, I guess you're just doing it because you're bored, right? And really not having like ideas of playing out at that point. Or?
No, just I always sang. I've always been a singer, but tried to get a gig in a local band. Roger Renson, the River Road Band, or whatever they were called. I think they were the River Road Band at the time. And he refused to give a guy a spot who didn't play an instrument. So, yeah, it was good advice, though.
Yeah. And do you play an instrument still? I mean, I'm joking.
Yeah.
You play some chords, right?
Halfway. I can beat around on an acoustic guitar.
It feels a little more comfortable holding that thing in front of you, though, instead of...
It does.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a pacifier when you're on stage, because you take it away, you feel naked up there.
Yeah.
There's some guys that just are naturally gifted and comfortable just having a microphone in their hand. That's their pacifier. But man, you take a guitar away from me, and it's like, oh, what do I do with my hands?
I would imagine, though, since you were doing like the Elvis thing as a kid, though, you're always comfortable being in front of people and performing, right?
Yeah. Totally. It has always just kind of came second nature, naturally. There was always music around the house growing up. Like I say, from Jim Croce, Leonard Skinner, Bob Seger, to Ike and Tina Turner, the Beach Boys. It was all over the place. Of course, Elvis was huge in our house growing up, and luckily I was fortunate enough to have parents that encouraged me to be hands-on with the music, not leave it alone. I was taught at a very early age how to take care and handle records, and play them and put a needle on, and when you're done, put it back and put it in the sleeve. Don't just leave it out. And so yeah, very very supportive, but that instilled a love of music from a very early age.
It was like parents and grandparents, right? Didn't your grandpa give you your first guitar?
My grandpa gave me my great-grandpa.
Great-grandpa?
Yeah, gave me my first guitar.
He probably jammed with Abe Lincoln or something.
He might have. Just up the road in Springfield, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've always been around music and listening to music, and then, and we talked about, you're starting out as an Elvis impersonator, you love sports, and then you become the Cardinal photographer, you photograph the Blues, you're around for the Stanley Cup, and man, you're living the dream.
Some would say, yes, and I would completely agree. I mean, there are far worse jobs to be had.
Yeah. And we haven't even brought up Star Search, which you won Star Search.
19, there again, it's been a half a lifetime ago. I can't even remember. 96, August of 96, man.
Do you remember the name of the first little bar where where you did the Toby Keith song to move on to the region?
That would have been, it was called, at the time, it turned into In Cahoots, but it was a little bit of Texas is what they called it.
I thought that was a regional one. Didn't you play like a local bar around here first?
Yeah, it was, what was the name of the place in Collinsville?
Okay.
The Silver Moon. Does that sound?
I'm not really sure.
Like I said,
we never went over that part, and I was always curious after we did the interview. I'm like, I wonder where he played. Like, so
well, I can tell you who the house band was. Jeff Batson and Platinum Pony was the house band.
Okay.
At this place.
Okay.
I think it was called the Silver Moon, but don't quote me on it. But it was right there in Collinsville, right off the interstate, and that's where they held the locals.
Okay.
And then the regionals were for the whole St. Louis area were
in cahoots
at a little bit of Texas, which turned into in cahoots.
Right. So let's go through that a little bit deeper this time. So like, I guess you're already banging around on an acoustic at this point, or
yeah, because I picked up a guitar during the flood of '93, and so that would have been what July, August, September of '93, and by March or April of '94, I'd already had my first band put together. We weren't very good, but we were playing top 40 country and your classic rock, your Skinner covers and things like that. But we were playing out by April of '94. So yeah, I'd been playing for a couple years, and playing the bars every Friday and Saturday night. And
so you hear about a Star Search tryout, I guess.
Yeah.
Down there in Collinsville.
Yep.
And so you whip up a Toby Keith song, just you and your guitar, and go down there and play it, or?
Yeah, I can't remember. I know I did 3 songs, and I honestly, Dennis, I don't remember which one actually won. But I did a Toby Keith song. I did "Does That Blue Moon Ever Shine on You." I did Wade Hayes. Was it On a Good Night?
Okay.
And Brooks and Dunn's "My Maria," which of course the B.W. Stevenson classic from way back. That might have been the one that actually got the job done.
Well, in the last interview, you talked about that song being the one that pushed you all the way through. Like, so you move on from Collinsville over there to St. Louis. You used "My Maria" again. Now, was it like 2 or 3 songs you had to play there?
That one we got to do 2 songs. So at the regional finals, we got to sing 2 songs.
Now, was Charlie Brown over there?
Charlie was over there, and Tommy Carlos, all 3. Tommy won the junior division. There were 2 divisions. There was a junior division up till like 13, and then if you were 14 and up, I think it was the senior division. So yeah, Tommy won his division, and I won the adult and male division.
All 3 of you guys had pretty good careers since then, huh?
Still to this day, we're all 3 active in music. And we're all 3 really, really good friends.
Was that your last gig then when you did his release party?
That would have been
Tommy and Charlie and
one
you,
of the
right?
last gigs was when we did Tommy's release party. It was Charlie and I, and then Charlie actually put together I don't remember which one came first, but they were pretty close to each other. Charlie put together a kind of a Nashville style songwriters night, and we did it in Bethalto. It was so awesome. It was the night the tornadoes came through.
That's right.
And we had started. We were like 2 or 3 songs in. I mean, we had a packed house, and we were in the round. And it was kind of like a guitar pull, old-fashioned guitar pull, where you tell a little story, sing a song. The next guy would do his. We were 2 or 3 songs in, and the tornado sirens start going off, and of course everybody goes downstairs. We had about an hour delay. And then we went up and finished the night, and it ended up great. It was a good show. I wish people would do more stuff like that around here, because I'll tell you what, as a participant, it was great to be on that side of it. But I've had so many people come up to me and tell me that they loved it, from a fan side of things, just to see something different and experience something that you wouldn't experience normally outside of Nashville.
Mm-hmm. And for those who don't know, and they should, Tommy Carlos down there in Nashville is a songwriter, and what's he on his 5th deal that he's made down there?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, as a songwriter,
he's got a pretty good one now, though, with Sony Music.
Right.
So,
yeah, we talked to him right before he released that record, and it did really well. Now he's on another record since then, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you, especially when you're somebody at his level, he's constantly creating. I mean, he never stops creating. Whether it's for him or being pitched to somebody else, another major label artist, or an up and comer, he's always telling me about, man, this new guy coming up is going to be something, you know.
Yeah, he was fun to interview. You know, he wrote a tune for Brooks and Dunn, ironically, as we come back around to the story that you're using the My Maria song.
Yeah.
The Brooks and Dunn's version, right, to get you through the Star Search. So after you win in St. Louis, I had a feeling like during that time you were pretty confident.
Oh, man.
From what you told us before.
Yeah. I honestly, I look back, Dennis, and I really wish I had taken it. Not that I didn't take it seriously, because I took it as serious as anybody could. But I just kind of went through the motions because it came so easy. So, like I said, it was just so natural for me, and I kind of always thought it would be around. So, like, I really, really wish I would have lived more in the moment, you know, really soaked it up a lot more. Like, you know, when I would get to open up for acts like Toby Keith, you know, rest in peace, or Johnny Paycheck. You know, Johnny Paycheck is the one that I really regret, because you know, we had an opening spot for Johnny Paycheck right before he passed. You know, he was emphysema had already set in. He was hitting a inhaler, having to take breaks during the show. But I really wish, because I'm a huge fan of Johnny,
I love Johnny
at this point, but I became a major fan later in life.
Right.
I was always familiar with the big songs, you know, but now I go back and I dig into his catalog, and I really wish I had been more present in the moment at that time, because I had every opportunity to sit there and just talk with Johnny like you and I are talking today, and I didn't do it.
Oh, wow.
So that's one of the major regrets.
Yeah, because that dude's got some stories.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Have you seen that thing Mike Judge did with
what a great show
with was it something tour bus, right?
Yeah, Tales from the Tour Bus.
That's right. Yeah,
man.
Yeah, if you folks haven't checked that out, man, that's an amazing series of
the Billy Joe Shaver one, Waylon, George Jones,
and these are all dudes that you got into later in life. You weren't like a big country guy at first. You're a metalhead.
I was a rocker.
Yeah,
I was
a rocker.
I was like we talked about Twisted Sister earlier, man. Twisted Sister, Quiet Riot, you know, AC/DC, Van Halen, and then even, you know, the stuff that was popular at the time with Prince and things like that. Cyndi Lauper and Madonna. I loved all good, just two kinds of music to me, good and bad. That's the only line I draw. And I thought I actually hated country music. If we're being honest, as a kid, I thought I hated it.
Right.
But that all changed, I'd say, softly. I softened my stance around 86 when I first heard Dwight Yoakam and Randy Travis, and, you know, the more of those guys, the neo-traditional movement that came through, Steve Earle.
Right. And of course, your cover band's doing Skinnerd, so, you know, you're getting a little country flavor out of that rock that you were playing at that point.
Marshall Tucker Band, Charlie Daniels Band, Hank Williams Jr., they're all interchangeable at that point.
Now, that cover band, was that older guys than you?
Yeah.
So you were getting some of what they're into, too, at that point.
These are guys that had played in bands since the 70s.
Right.
And they kind of took me under their wing, and they said, well, let's let this guy's voice take, and we'll just play music and have a good time. And we did. We played every Friday and Saturday night for like 4 years, you know, pretty much everywhere around here. Yeah, the band was called Kickback.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Top 40 country and rock and roll covers.
Playing around Grafton, mainly?
Well, we Grafton, Calhoun. We were actually the first country band that they would let play at Big Al's.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were on a bill with the Undecided.
Okay.
You know, Donnie and Paul and those guys.
Which comes back around later.
Yeah,
right?
I'm sure it will at some point. I love those guys, you know.
Well, I'm talking, you know, in your life.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah, because
absolutely.
Like that's who the band is basically on Small Town Fool, right?
On Small Town Fool is you know, two of those guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
on Small Town Fool and Even the Wind. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, you know, and that's what's interesting about your story. I'm bouncing all over the place with it, but let's get back to the Star Search thing. So now you're heading to Vegas.
Yeah.
Right. So how did you have to pay to get out there?
No, it was all expenses paid.
So that was part of winning.
That was the prize. In the end, that was really the only prize. Even after winning the whole thing, that was the prize.
Right,
was the trip.
Right, because back in those days, getting on TV was a big deal.
Right.
I mean, you'd like go hide behind a newscaster and wave to get on TV, which people still do. But back then, I mean,
especially people from Grafton.
It's hard to imagine because we have so much entertainment now. Right.
Yeah.
But it was a really big deal to get on
huge.
Television, right?
Huge. Absolutely.
And, so you're just starting your career, and here you're heading to Vegas to be on TV.
And I think that was probably the biggest, looking back, probably the biggest downfall for me was too much too soon. I just expected it because it was so easy.
Right.
I expected, well, isn't this how it always goes? It's not always this way.
So you're not standing there like watching these other performers going, I don't know if I can beat this guy. That guy's really good.
I will tell you what, that was the first time in my life I had seen other singers that I was not intimidated by, but I was like, wow, that now we've made it to the show here. It's, I can imagine like coming from the minor leagues from a baseball perspective to being called up to the big leagues, and you're standing there next to Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt.
Right.
And you're like, I thought I was good, but then I see these guys, and I'm singing alongside. Now I'm no longer the big fish in a small pond here in Illinois or Missouri. I know what I can do around here, and I know who can stand up there with me, and getting out there, and now I'm singing against the best singers in Texas and the best singers in Tennessee and West Virginia, and
we can go back and talk about Tommy and Charlie at the regional, because you said, they're awesome.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And they've had great careers since then. You know what I mean? So like
Charlie shared a great story, a fantastic story. He always does. Anytime we play a songwriters night together, he always makes sure that as he's introducing me, he tells this story. And he's like, when I first met Billy, it was at the regionals over in the Star Search contest over in St. Louis. And he's like, he came up, introduced himself, and he's like, I saw he had like ink pen writing on the palm of his hand. And I said, what's that? And he's like, oh, these are the words to My Maria. And he's like, yeah. So I instantly think in the back of my head, well, I got this guy beat if he don't even know the words.
Right.
I knew the words, but it was just in case you have that senior moment, which I have a lot more frequently these days than I ever did back then. I could just get a glance and know exactly where I needed to be.
How'd you do that part where like the vocals start overlapping and he hits that real high?
That high note. Yeah, you don't want to know.
Yeah.
No, I just
like there's two parts there though, kind of going on.
It's a lot. It's kind of a warble to his vocal.
Yeah.
It's maybe a little bit of what some would call maybe a yodel, which I cannot yodel that you would normally think in the
just segued
that
for
term.
Me,
yeah,
you just segued for me because the reason I'm bringing up Star Search, okay, because this area, you're not the only guy that was on Star Search. Paul Light, right? Tom Tarantino, they were in a band called The Action.
Okay, no, I'm not familiar.
And
at all.
they were on Star Search.
Okay, when?
85,
okay,
something
so
like that.
In the early days,
right?
The Sawyer Brown days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
nice.
So we always talk about this area being a special place, and one of the things we talk about a lot is that we believe 100%. Pigpen and I, after interviewing some of the people we have, that this is the true home of rock and roll.
Yeah.
And the main story we base that on is that Johnny Johnson, right, the jazz pianist, right, is playing in East St. Louis on New Year's Eve in like 53, 50, something right in there. Now,
it had to be around that time, yeah.
Elvis is coming out like 54,
right.
Just to put a perspective on this. Okay, his sax player has a stroke, okay? It's New Year's Eve. He's got to find a replacement. Now, everybody's got a gig on New Year's Eve.
Right.
He calls up this kid named Chuck Berry.
Right.
Right? And we know what happens after that.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there, to me, that's the birth of rock and roll. Because Chuck wrote his own songs. He had that guitar, and he'd dance all over the stage. No knock on Elvis.
Right.
But Elvis is doing the blues.
Elvis started out doing country and blues.
Right. And, they both get credit. Don't get me wrong, but I think
if it weren't for Carl Perkins, would Elvis have been,
There you go. Yeah. And I think people lose the story of Chuck because Chuck had some bad press along the way, right?
Yeah.
But look at that guy right there and think rock and roll and tell me how he can't be the beginning. So anyways, Johnny and Chuck, They head up to Chicago to Chess Records, which, let's go back to where rock and roll came from. All these blues guys,
Right.
they're coming from the Delta. They're heading to Chicago. What happens when they get to St. Louis, though? They get a meal and a bath and a little money. All right? So a lot of them stayed right here. Albert King, you know?
Yeah.
And you brought up the guy who invented distortion earlier.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Ike and Tina
Old
Turner,
Ike.
right?
Yeah.
Right. And so the story with distortion
Rocket
is
88?
right.
Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the story is that his amplifier falls off the trailer and he just sticks a piece of paper in there, right?
Loaded it with a bunch of paper towels. Yeah.
Sounds like the birth of rock and roll to me.
It is. Yeah,
I'm just
absolutely.
saying. So you got the cross of all this type of music here, right? You got the jazz, and we know Miles was from here too.
Right.
So, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, just think of who I just talked about, right?
Oh.
And that's right here. And I haven't even brought up the one a lot of people forget, and that's Bonnie Bramlett,
Yeah. Oh.
right?
Yeah.
Born in Alton, Illinois.
Does she still reside here? I know she's in Illinois.
Yeah,
but
she's
maybe
in
Belleville. Or,
she's in Granite City right now.
Granite. Okay.
She moved to Granite City.
Yep.
Right now, that's the first white I get, and she couldn't stay. She was like underage,
Yeah.
so she couldn't cross state lines with Ike Turner. It was illegal.
Right. Well,
Right.
how old was she when she got with Delaney? I mean,
Well, it wasn't much later than
No,
that. Yeah, it was
right.
a great interview we did with her. We had her in,
it's awesome.
and so. I mean, this is somebody the Beatles would call and say, "Hey, Bonnie, can you come down and work on this with us?"
Yeah.
I mean, she's friends with the Beatles. To us, that puts her at the very top, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You're talking
you-
Mount Rushmore people there.
And Eric Clapton, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so you think about those British guys who were into all these blues guys, right? And Bonnie knew these blues guys from being from St. Louis,
Yeah.
right? So you know they wanted to chew her ear about the blues
and being extremely talented. I mean,
Yeah.
she's just
Unbelievable.
amazing.
You know, record labels call her in when they couldn't get their pop star to sing it right and say, "Look, Bonnie, show her how to do it."
So I was in. Funny segue to that. During my time in Nashville, you know, I'm there with her daughter Becca.
Right, Becca.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And she's very talented.
Very
too.
talented, extremely talented.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, you know, I'm tying that all in because, you know, like I just said, you know, here's two Star Search guys.
I had no idea.
And now I got to bring up something I know you just experienced like everybody else around here, and that's when Ruby Lee took the stage for The Voice.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
and it was pretty awesome. The wife and I used to be like, we wouldn't miss an episode of The Voice. And I can't remember exactly what happened, but we were so invested that one of these particular contestants got booted off way earlier than they should have been booted off. And I told my wife, I said, I'm not watching anymore.
Okay.
And so we didn't watch for years. And then when the Ruby Lee buzz started, we tuned in.
Well,
So-
you brought up yodeling earlier.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
That's what you used to
Yep.
grab hold of everybody.
Yeah.
Turn 4 chairs.
Look at Leanne Rimes. I mean,
Right.
that's what kind of broke her.
Right.
You know, when you can, everybody thinks they can yodel, but,
Right.
But trust me, everybody can't yodel. only a handful of people should be yodeling.
Yeah, I would think, though, you know, since you were a part of like a show like that, you know, to see someone from our area, like, you know, go through what you went through and reach and now she's 16 years old.
Right.
You know what I mean? And she started like at 9 playing like the hog pit and places like that with
Yeah.
Mickey Gilley.
Yeah.
Right? Mickey
yeah.
Gilley took her under her wing, and so I was just kind of curious if you had, you know, time to you know, look into her at all during
Oh yeah,
that
yeah.
time.
It's one of those things that like I said, I had gotten so far away from it, but I definitely took notice.
So she
For
did
sure.
just like you. She got The Voice now, and she went down to Nashville. You know, she just played the Grand Ole Opry.
It's tough. It's a tough gig, man. No matter, I mean, and I can't. Nashville was tough when it was a tough town when I was there, and that was 25 years ago. I can't imagine how tough it is now. It's basically the LA of the South now.
So that was her dream.
Yeah.
You know, The Voice was something she did, But all her life, she's wanted to play the Grand Ole Opry, just like you wanted to play in Busch Stadium as a Cardinal player, right? And now you're standing next to all these guys, like you said, right?
Yeah.
So you can imagine her down there in the Grand Ole Opry, right? 2 standing ovations, right? Pack the place, and she's got a brand new single out.
I'm hoping she's doing a little better than I was, and at least absorbing, taking this all in, because it can be gone in a minute.
Exactly, and that's why I bring it up, because I know you've been through it, and I know a lot of people around here just seen her do what she's doing. Her new single, by the way, is called "Love's Like a Rose."
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, so that's just released this past week, but I wanted to kind of go over that stuff with you and just get your impression on, because like I said, you've been through that.
Yeah, and as much as country is a part of me, I mean, it's instilled, it runs deep. I have a deep love for country music and a deep appreciation for country music and its history now, much greater than I did even when I was active, just getting started. But I got to tell you, I kind of fell out of love with what they're calling country music, 10 or so years ago, 15 or so years ago. It just didn't sound like country music to me. But now I know I'm sounding like that old guy yelling at a cloud, because I can imagine how my grandpa or somebody of his generation would have felt when Garth Brooks and Billy Ray Cyrus and Travis Tritt and those guys took over. And I adore and idolize those guys. That 90's country to me is the generation of country music. I mean, the decade for country music, for sure.
So I'm thinking to myself here, like Brooks and Dunn would be the judge at Star Search when you were there.
Yeah.
How much nerves does that put on, right?
You never want to, here's the thing, I totally wouldn't have sang My Maria, because you never want to sing their song to them, because they're constantly going to be judging you against themselves.
Well, that's why I bring this up.
You can never do it as good as them.
You know what Ruby did, right? She did a Reba song.
In front of Reba?
In front of Reba.
Well, there you go. That takes some cojones.
And Reba cried.
Yeah. That's saying something, because Reba's one of the finest female vocalists to ever grace a stage. I mean, Reba's just amazing.
Now, you can get all these records we're talking about at your store, which is something we haven't had a chance to talk about when you've been on since the last time, since the 20th anniversary release, and you got your first piece of vinyl, which is like your all-time dream.
Yes, it was.
Right.
Yes, it was. Still is. It feels amazing to still see my music, something I created, no matter how long ago it was, but it's a physical product, whether it's a CD or a nice big 12-inch piece of vinyl. It's pretty awesome.
And so part of your dream too was like all of us who grew up and like played in the record stores and went through all those albums and felt them and smelled them and pulled them out and flipped
poured
them
over the artwork,
read all the information, because there was no internet. Your internet was on the back of the album.
Yeah, you wanted to know who wrote the songs, who produced it, who played on it. Yeah.
So you're like, man, if I only had a record store.
Yeah.
Bam. You got a record store.
Got a record store. Yeah, presto changeo. I went from photographing all the Little League sports in Illinois, and then with just a dream of, someday retiring and having a record store. Because I've collected records for over 30 years, going on 35 years now. And being able to have a record store that was just something to pass the time, and then all of a sudden the rug was pulled out from underneath us, so to speak, with the pandemic, and I wasn't able to do the job that I had been doing for the last 10 or 12 years, which was youth sports photography. And I sat down with my wife and I said, look, I know we've always talked about this from a retirement perspective, and it would be on a much smaller scale, but we should probably look into this, because no guts, no glory, so to speak. And the time was right, because the location that we're in right now it's one of, if not the most prime location for retail in the area. It's one of them. Black Sporting Goods was there for 40 plus years. We're right next door to Mr. Donut, the last Mr. Donut in the country.
Shout out Matt Van Voorhis.
Absolutely.
Right.
And we were able to make it happen by the grace of God and with the help and generosities of some very great people. Mr. Fred Tiemann, who owned the Mr. Donut building and the Black Sporting Goods building. He was just leasing it out at the time, and he's like, you know what, I'm getting to the age where I think I want to get out of this game, and being a small businessman all his life, he wanted nothing more than to see somebody come in and be successful, succeed.
Mm-hmm.
So he really took care of us, and still does to this day. He's a great guy, great friend to have in the business.
So I'm going to get a little deeper into the Riverbend Records here, but before I go any further, I got some gigs I need to announce. But
Yeah.
You finally brought up Tara.
Yeah.
And that's something every single time you've been in here, no matter what part of your career, it's been Tara that's been there for you.
Yeah.
Your music career, go ahead and go down to Nashville,
She packed up her bags
Right.
with me. She loaded her bags in the van with mine without knowing anybody, without having any friends or family or support. We were our own support team, and we have been. I think that's what's made us so successful even to this day, is that we realize no matter how many friends or how great our family may be, ultimately it's I got her back and she's got mine.
And then you decide, well, I'm going to start a photography front row photo.com.
Yeah.
And she's right there for you again.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
Take out a second mortgage.
Oh,
Let's
we
do
did.
this, right?
Yeah, you know it. You
Right,
know it.
right,
We
right.
did. Took out a second mortgage, and because most people don't realize that high end photo gear costs more than the vehicles they drive.
So what I'm trying to tell you, Billy, is now it's time for you to support her because she's got a new book out.
100%. She is
Tell us about her new book.
living her dream. I mean, I would say, in the last 10 years, she's done a lot of internalizing and being very reflective on what she's done in her life. And we all work for other people at certain points, and she realized, you know what, I'm done working for other people. I want to work for myself, and I want to better myself. I want to better my position, but in the same breath, I want to be able to help others.
Right.
And I think that's what she is so great at doing, and she's kind of been able to kind of meld the two together beautifully. With her taking her business and her health coaching and her all the things that she does, she's able to provide inspiration and then share that inspiration and turn around and have these people that she's helped or she's met along the way share their stories so they can in turn inspire other people. So yeah, she's now on her second book.
Okay.
Both of them international #1 bestsellers.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So go ahead and plug them. I know you got to hold that piece of vinyl in front of her. What was it like watching her hold that first book in her hand?
Seeing her get her first book, her first box of books was great. I actually pulled the camera out as she was opening up the box and breaking the tape and just you can see all the work come to a crescendo as she held that in her hand. It was pretty amazing. So I think a lot of people might not know, because it's only been like a year between the two books, that this new book isn't. I mean, it's an actual standalone. It's a companion piece, but it's a totally different book, a totally different set of stories.
Okay.
So I think a lot of people tomorrow. She's on the whole the campaign trail right now.
Yeah, she was here recently.
Today,
I believe.
She's hitting everywhere. Letting everybody know that the actual physical books are out, because I would say it was probably a month or two ago. They always do, just like musicians do. They drop everything digitally first.
Right.
And then the physical product comes a couple months later. So now she has her physical product, and I think they have their she has an event. She has two events coming up this weekend. There's one that is going to be celebrating all the authors, anybody who can make it that's local, because the authors are from all over the world. But anybody who can make it out Friday night, they're going to be celebrating them in at Rustic Roots.
Okay.
We'll be doing that Friday night, and then on Sunday she has a book signing in Grafton. Don't ask me where.
Wow.
I have no idea, but she's doing something Sunday afternoon in Grafton.
Okay, yeah. So does she have like a place where we can go, like find out more about her or anything like that?
Facebook is honestly the best place to
Okay.
check out anything with anybody, but
Right.
Especially her, because that's kind of where she's at. She does have her Hurst health coaching page,
Okay.
but just Tara Hurst
Okay.
on Facebook.
Okay, sounds
Yeah.
good. We wanted to give her a nice little
And
plug
she would
there.
actually get back to you. If you got questions about overall health, whether it be physical health, mental health, whatever, she's definitely going to be able to help you.
Just like you would if I went out to Riverbend Records and was like, "Hey man, where's your record at here?"
Yeah.
You could show me, right?
I could at least point you in the right direction. Let's put it that way.
I know you sold out of the first run of them, right?
Yeah, we had to actually. I just got another box, so I had one more box hanging out in the garage. So we just got 30 more,
So
which we only had like 200 or 250 pressed up to begin with. And I've been hanging on to this last box. It was kind of bittersweet cracking the seal on that last box because, it's not like with vinyl, it's not like a CD where you can just pop one in, burn one off at a time. You got to get a few hundred of those babies made up at a time.
Yeah.
And it takes, they're pricey, and it takes forever to get them,
A double album, by the way.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, it was a double album.
Yeah,
It is a double album.
I like the idea, too, that you used where you had the code in there where you can just download it digitally if you don't want to, burn that vinyl out.
Well, not only that, there's so many people, especially at the time in 2017 when we put that out, as popular as vinyl is today, it wasn't that popular back then. People thought I was crazy. You actually play records? You're getting a record made? Well, I don't have a record player, but I want to support you. So our way to kind of thank them was, hey, you buy this, you're going to get a free digital down. At least you're getting something out of it besides,
That's a cool idea.
something you can just hang on the wall.
So you getting the band together August 31st, or is it going to be just you?
It's just going to be me.
Okay.
It's just going to be me, just because I haven't played in so long. I haven't played with the band since the 25th anniversary down at the riverfront.
Right.
What was that for? Was that for
I think it was the expo, wasn't it?
It was the expo.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2017.
Which just, once again, kind of fell out in your hands right as the vinyl's coming out.
Right
it's
as
like,
we were having
man,
that.
this story keeps going on in your life, man. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Let me
kind of like that Joe Dirt, scenario. Everything you touch just turns to gold.
Give me a minute and let me plug some of these folks who are trying to get some of that luck too out there. Sarah Springman Shoemake, she's playing at the Flock on Friday night from 6 to 9. They'll have Anthony and Annie and Exit 52 down to Fast Eddie's Rum Boogie out the VFW in Alton, Soulshine Groove at Baker's and Hale. And this is where Pigpen's at, by the way. He's at this Under the Stars Music and Camping experience that we talked about a couple of weeks ago on here. And they got a whole group of bands playing both Friday and Saturday night with a big bonfire jam to wrap it up. It's going to be Fleetwood Family headlining on Friday night, and when I get to Saturday, I'll let you know. I know Spilly Nelson's a headliner on Saturday, but his band's playing on Saturday, so we'll give him a little plug. Out at Locke's Brick House on Friday is Josh Wolfall, and then Flip the Frog doing the Refinery Bar down in Wood River. Let's see, I'm going to skip over some of these so we can get back to talking to Billy. But we keep the entire list at cottonmouth.org, and you can go there anytime. Let's say you're in the middle of Grafton, you're checking out the Soulard Blues Band on a Friday night at the loading dock. That's Mr. John Munden right there. I suggest you go check out the Soulard Blues Band. Anybody seen John play knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. So, yeah. But, you pull out cottonmouth.org, you look down, and you're like, hey, wait a minute, Carrie Lee's playing the Bloody Bucket, and Graham Pagano's at Aries in Grafton on Saturday. So you got the whole list right there in front of you, and you can skip around town and check out everybody else. They got the big Prairie Town World's Fair happening on Friday night. Prairie Town's a place to have a World's Fair,
That's
right?
right.
Have you heard Shotgun Creek?
The name rings a bell, but I have never seen them live. No.
Jeremy Drake.
Yeah.
That's a good country band.
Okay.
They got a record out.
I see your Flatliners shirt when I walked in, and I said, good taste right there.
I
They were
want
great
me
band.
a Riverbend record shirt. You know, some of these guys that
Just let
come
us
in
know.
here, you know, they drop off
Just
shirts.
let us know. I'll be glad to deliver you one.
Self-plug there. You know.
Yeah.
But Whiskey River playing with Shotgun Creek at the Prairie Town World's Fair. And then, of course, Rock the Hops happening on Saturday, which is a huge festival. They've done a great job. Drew and Hope Mater, and they've got the entire list of bands once again. And I think it's like 5, 6, 7 venues. I think it's maybe like 4 or 5 venues. I could
Is
be
Autumn
exaggerating.
Clock on that list? I want to say
they are on that
yeah.
list. Yes,
Wow.
very
Talk
much
about a
so.
blast from the past. Right
They are
there.
playing right before Hope and Therapy.
Okay.
And they're playing at the Old Bakery Brewery.
Nice.
So we've got. Let me just go through the list. We got those two at 2:15, Elliot Pearson at 3:30, Darian Poe at 4:45, and Doug Rafferty. Coming back to town 6 o'clock, catching the Westburn at 7:15, and that's all at Bossa Nova.
Doug's played our place a couple times.
Right.
Fantastic show. The guy's just amazing.
Yeah.
And an all around great human being.
And Bossa Nova.
Yeah.
Right. So you got a little pass with Russ, dude.
Yes, I do.
Didn't you replace him or something at one point?
Kind of, I guess you could say.
The Telegraph, right?
I never want to say you replaced Russ.
Well,
Russ Smith was such a great photographer.
Yeah.
Russ stepped down,
right,
and I stepped up. Let's
Thanks
put it that way.
Steve Porter.
Steve Porter.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to continue with our story as we're going through the list here. And then at the Old Bakery, it's going to be the Trophy Mules at 2:30, Autumn Clock at 3:30. Then Hope and Therapy follows them at 5, Joel at 6, Trevor May and the Nomads at 7:15. That's all at the Old Bakery. Let's see. This is... We'll have to go through the list. There's a lot of them here.
There's a lot.
1781 at 2:15, Chain Stay at 3, ROTN. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but 4:15. They Need Machines to Fly at 5:15, Future Modern 6:10, and Ring Cicada, which I'm looking forward to see at 7:15 at the Conservatory on Saturday. And then you got I Like Snaps, 2:15, Andrew Ryan and the Levy at 3:30, Lofty's Comet, 4:45. Now there's a
great band.
Have they ever played out of Riverbend Records?
I think they did maybe one of our
Seems like they did.
one of our very first record store day.
Yeah, there's a sax player.
Yeah.
And here's a band you mentioned, Rock Crown. 6
Love those
o'clock.
guys.
Right.
Love those guys.
Playing from 6 to 6:45, and Olive.
Yes, love them too. Yeah.
Right. That's all at the Flock.
A lot of great talent. Around here. Really, I mean, you mentioned it earlier. I mean, but even today, because I would say 10 or 15 years ago, there was a concern, a widespread concern that, kids these days aren't playing music. Rock and roll's dead. Well, I think I think they were wrong.
It's not dead. It's live.
Yeah.
Live is a big deal these days.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing live music, and that's where the kids go now. You know, we used to flip on the radio and find out what's hot.
Yeah.
Now they go to festivals and find out what's hot.
Well, they experience it from their own perspective. They're not force-fed anything.
Yeah. Right.
It's kind of, I feel it's kind of a good and bad thing. We were able to experience a lot of things because that's how we heard it. That's how we ingested music, was the radio or MTV or whatever, depending on what generation you come from. Nowadays, they've got so much and so many ways to experience something. I think it's only right that they go out and experience it live and decide whether or not you like the people,
So the final venue for Rock the Hops is Raging Cajun, and that starts at 2:15 with the Down Bads, Diesel at 3:30, Mobile Alien Research Unit at 4:25, Odd Soul and the Sound, 5:30, and Super Fun, Rocket Ship.
Have you ever seen that guy?
I have.
What a show.
Yeah.
What a show.
We actually do, I think the videos on cottonmouth.org of them, they leap over Robert Wadlow. The world's tallest man, to try to get into where you're already at, the Guinness Book of World Records.
Yeah. That is such a fun show to witness.
Well, their name says it all. Super fun,
super
rocket
fun,
ship.
rocket ship. He's drinking out of a gasoline jug. And,
right, it's a fun time, and that'll be at Raging Cajun. Of course, Birds of Squalor doing the headlining down there 7:30, and Jamie Dunn hosts the open mic down there at Raging Cajun on the weekend. So that's all happening Saturday right here in Alton, and if you want to go camping, then you got the Understars Music and Camping Experience as well on Saturday, and Butch Moore is going to kick that one off at 10 a.m. And
there's so much going on this weekend. You mentioned at our place at Riverbend Records, we don't have any live music going on this weekend, but we are having a very cool listening event, an early exclusive listening event for the brand new Post Malone country record. There's only about 100 spots in the United States that are able to do this, and we were selected as one of those. It's going to be great. It's going to be at noon. 12 o'clock noon this Saturday at Riverbend Records. You get to be the first ones to hear the new Post Malone country album, which I'm very excited to hear.
And that's something you guys do from time to time, right? Is these type events?
We try and do as many of them as we can get into. Yeah.
Right. And so I guess riverbendrecords.com is a good place to find out when these events take place.
Riverbendrecords.com, and then of course Facebook, Instagram, X, any of all your social media platforms, because we stay pretty active on social media.
Right. Yeah. And I want to mention, while we're on Riverbend Records, it's not just records.
No.
You guys got pinball machines in there. You got
our hashtag is so much more than a record store.
Right. Yeah.
It's music is the lifeblood of the place. Whether it be vinyl records, whether it be CDs, cassettes, 8-tracks. Reel to reel, basically any physical format of music we support. But yes, we have gaming in there. We have a KISS pinball machine you can play. Yeah. Yep.
Pretty cool.
You can have a drink while you browse. Whether it be an alcoholic beverage or
that's right,
Pepsi or water.
Right. You got some wine in there. You got some. What do they call those fancy beers like they're having at Rock the Hops, right?
Yeah.
Select brews, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were about to mention Pigpen's band, the Sandwich Brothers.
Nice.
They're playing at 2 o'clock, and they're followed by A Brighter Side, Hideous Gentleman at 6, Tree 1-4 at 8, and then Spilly Nelson at 10 o'clock with a bonfire jam starting at midnight, and that's at the VFW Park in Brighton, going on Friday and Saturday. So go ahead and check out Pigpen if you dare.
Good stuff. So many great artists and acts on that list you just read off there, Dennis.
Yeah, and I'm like Billy's seeing me. I'm flipping pages, right? Yeah. And I'm not halfway through Saturday. So we're going to stop there because I want to get back and talk more about part of what we haven't talked about, and that's, for the folks who are heading out to check you out on August 31st at Roper's Regal Beagle, they might want to ask you, like, who's your current favorite Cardinal player? Because you photograph these guys every night.
You're going to put me on the spot.
Yeah.
My current favorite Cardinal player. I'll give you one for a different reason than it's totally not because he's a great baseball player. Okay. Just because he's and I'll give you two.
Okay. It's hard to pick one.
Nolan Gorman.
Okay.
And Matthew Liberatore.
Okay.
Because they show an appreciation, a pretty deep appreciation for my music.
Okay.
In the same way that Adam Wainwright used to. We would have those on a different level conversations.
That's pretty cool.
About music, and in particular they're always interested in my music.
So they're country guys?
Yeah, they're country guys, and for the most part kind of a 90s and even 90s and a little bit more modern too, country guys. But they were so stoked. They actually messaged me. They had seen that my stuff, believe it or not, like I said, I just turned 50, Dennis. So
right.
Me and technology I like to think I'm okay with
right.
it, but I'm kind of a dinosaur when it comes to technology. I just got my stuff on all the like Small Town Fool is just literally within the last couple months got on all the major streaming platforms. So they were sending me screenshots like, how cool is this? So yeah, they're great guys in addition to being great ball players.
So you're the official Cardinal photographer And just for the folks who haven't tuned in our show and figured out this story, let's kind of graze over that again. So you were like getting into photography. You know, we got to bring up the maidens, Pat and Chuck, right?
Yeah.
Because like that
Pious all
Photoshop,
photo.
right? And so you make your way down here, and you're like, hey, you know, teach me some stuff. Can I get a job? You know, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And but here's the part I think that really helped you out the most, and that is you got on the internet and did some research. Right, you got on the forums and you found out about the Sports Shooter Academy, right? And you headed out to California, right, where the 49ers team photographer.
Oh yeah, there were so just to backtrack a little bit, I didn't just head out there. You had to send in a portfolio to be reviewed, and you wanted going up against hundreds of other portfolios.
It's like Star Search, right?
Here
we go
Star
again.
Search of photography, absolutely.
Right.
And you know, at this point, I had not photographed anything professional whatsoever. But it just goes to show that you don't have to be shooting sports at a professional level or on a big stage to make big photos, you know, make impactful photos. So I was shooting Little League stuff, you know, the Alton Renegades.
Right.
I was shooting the Marquette Explorers for Steve Porter, you know.
Right.
But we had some great talent on those Marquette Explorers teams with Tim Nelson coaching back in the day. Shout out to Timmy. I think yesterday would have been his birthday. But yeah, I sent in my portfolio to be reviewed, and it was accepted. I was one of 40 portfolios that got accepted, 35 of which were college students, and I was far from a college student. There were 5 of us that were aspiring working photographers. You know, we wanted to advance our career, so to speak. So we went out to I got a trip to L.A., and got to hang with about a dozen of the best sports photographers in the country, from the USA Today guys to the Los Angeles Lakers, San Francisco 49ers, Seattle Seahawks, you name it. They were all there. And not only did we get to shoot some pretty cool stuff, but we were there for a week doing workshops and just how to build a portfolio, how to approach things from a different perspective, look at something from a different eye. But the biggest thing was networking. It taught me how to network.
That's what I'm headed with this.
In a way that I really wish I had known in my previous life as a musician in Nashville. Who's to say where it would have taken me? Because as we all know, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Exactly.
But honestly, getting your foot in the door, you still have to be able to produce when you're given that opportunity. But getting the opportunity is something that a lot of people don't get because they just don't know how to network.
Yeah. But that's where you hook up with AP, right? Not totally getting the job, but
kind of sideways.
Right, because eventually you hook up by shooting the Cardinals right at third base dugout, and that where you were.
Yeah. So I started out with a little bitty media, multimedia company called Cal Sport Media.
Right.
And it enabled me to get my foot in the door with Mizzou and the U of I and Ohio State and Indiana and then the St. Louis Blues.
Right.
And when I walked into the St. Louis Blues, you got to know that people are watching, people are paying attention. I mean, I didn't know, I obviously knew of all these guys because there's the best shooters in the St. Louis area and even outside of St. Louis. These are some great photographers that shoot for USA Today and the Associated Press and Getty Sports. And so I knew who they were, but little did I know they knew who I was, too, because they're paying attention. They all know who's up-and-coming guys. And I walked in, and Scott Rovac introduced himself. He knew my name. I'm like, holy crap, Scott Rovac knows my name.
I know.
And we've been great friends ever since. And from that, it did enable me to get into shoot the Cardinals the next season for the Telegraph for Pete Hayes. Pete was the writer, and I was the photographer. And then just kind of keep my mouth shut, keep my head down, pay attention.
Important, kids.
Ask questions when you need to. Listen when you all the time. Be listening, and it paid off because it in turn got me an opportunity with the Associated Press and USA Today.
And I, from what I remember from the story, your personality, what you just brought up there, had a lot to do with that because you go to the AP guy. Third base side, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, man, I'm thinking about just putting everything down and
following him around for a couple days just to see.
Are you crazy?
Yeah.
Your stuff's good. And you're
Yeah.
like, huh?
Yeah.
My stuff's good? And it's hard for an artist to get a read on their art.
It is.
You know what I mean? Because you're wanting to do better constantly.
Oh yeah, because
Right.
you're if you're not measuring your work against the best out there,
Right.
why do it?
Right.
Why do it? I mean, I get it that yes, we do it for the love of the art, but a lot of that is just nonsense. Unless you're a independently wealthy, then
Right.
you can afford to do it for the love of the art. But if you want to be, you want to be successful, you need to be good.
Right.
And in order to be good, you need to be willing to grow and learn. You never stop learning, ever.
So what do you think of that Adam Wainwright album?
I actually really like it.
Yeah.
I think, and this is not obviously I am biased.
You know
Adam
him,
and
yeah.
I are friends. We have been for a while, but I will tell you from a musician to musician perspective, and my opinion, just from a songwriter's perspective, the first thing I noticed when and it took a lot for him to pitch me his demos. He sent them to me. He texts me over, man, I just wrote this great song. It's just him and his guitar.
Right.
And he texts it to me, and I want to know what you think. And he really did want to know what I think. He wanted my honest opinion, and I'd give him my honest opinion. And a lot of his stuff was really raw in the beginning, but I sensed talent there.
Right.
He really worked hard at it, and he enjoyed it. He had a passion for the music, and his stuff is a certain era that I love. We talked about 90's country. He is deeply rooted in 90's country and that 90's country sound.
I got you.
And I'd say Adam's stuff is better than anybody out there that's not a professional musician.
Okay.
Making it to this day. His stuff is really good, and it's only going to get better because he works hard at it.
Definitely.
He's got some songs on this new album that we should be having sometime soon.
Okay.
Um,
I was waiting for that part.
It's great. There's some really fantastic songs on
For
here.
those who don't know, he just played the Grand Ole Opry, right?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
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 I think he's playing the Washington County Fair tomorrow night.
So I think Ruby went down to check that out and got to meet him, Ruby Lee.
Yeah.
And so I got to thinking, we got the Star Search champion here, and we got the voice runner-up. I'm saying we need a battle between you and Ruby.
Why make it a battle? Why not just make it why not just get together and
I agree, 100%. I just wanted to mess with you for a minute and see what you said. He's like, I can't yodel. What do you?
No. I'd pull out my best My Maria though.
Yeah. That'd be fun to see you two together and see you guys share
Oh,
stories.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd be down. I would be down for that.
We'll get Paul Light too to see if we can get the action back together
get like the Blues Brothers. We're getting the band back together.
Right.
Yeah.
Get anyone who's been on Star Search or any of these, television shows where, because there's more people from around here. I think there was a kid from like Belleville or Waterloo in that same voice that Ruby Lee was in.
Okay.
So, I mean, we got, I always think it's because we had these giant ancient mounds here. Maybe there's some special spiritual
Mysterious power going on.
Yeah, right here in the water of St.
Right.
Louis, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, we're going to call it East Side because, we're taking claim in Illinois, folks.
100%. It's not St. Louis.
That was Johnny Johnson and Chuck in East St. Louis.
St. Louis,
yeah,
right.
I'm going to bring that up. Bonnie from Alton, Illinois.
Right.
Miles Davis from Alton, Illinois. I'm
Right.
just saying. We got an amazing history here. Right here.
I would agree with you.
And we got Billy Hurst on Star Search, and we got Billy Hurst at August 31st.
August 31st.
At Roper's.
Since opening up the record store 4 years, it'll be 4 years October. I've rarely, between the Cardinals and the record store, I just don't have time. As much as I love playing live music, I just don't have time to do it. So this particular show is something that I've had on the back burner for a long time. I've really wanted to do it. My passion, my roots are like I said, I'm deeply rooted in 90's country. 90's country is where I came up. I played all that 90's country in the bars, from Dwight Yoakam to Brooks and Dunn, Travis Tritt, Garth Brooks, you name it, Joe Diffie. It's crazy to think we're already losing some of these guys. You know, Toby Keith most recently, Joe Diffie, Daryl Singletary, all these guys in the last handful of years have gone. And so I've always wanted to do a 90s country night, nothing but 90s. Okay. Now, granted, my regular show, there's a lot of 90s country in it, but this is nothing but 90s. If you're coming there to hear Good-Hearted Woman or, you know, Leonard Skinner, you know, whatever, Freebird, it's not going to be, you might want to catch another show, because this is the nothing but 90s country for 4 hours at Roper's. So I'm going to be doing songs that obviously I could do in my sleep. I've been singing them for 30 plus years. But then there's also a handful that I've never sang because I went through, when I decided I was going to do this, I went through and did all my jumped on the interwebs and did my research. Songs from, and I actually gave it 10% on each side. So I went from 89 to 2000 because, you know, as you know, a song could be recorded and an album could be released in 89, but that single might not have hit until February or March of whenever, 1990.
I think that Guns N' Roses album, the first one they put out, was out like a year before anybody.
A year before you know, Paradise City or whatever. Well, was it Welcome to the Jungle?
Yeah,
and all it took was that to get played on MTV at 2 a.m. and then the phones went crazy. But yeah, I went through and I compiled a list of all the songs, because even though I have kind of a rolling encyclopedia of 90s country in my head all the time, there were so many songs that I obviously had forgotten about or wouldn't be able to remember. So I went through a list of all the top songs of the year, the top 100 songs of the year for every year, and I wrote down which ones I thought. Obviously, a lot of them are going to be female songs that I'm not going to be able to do, because we had some great female artists in the 90s. You know, you mentioned Reba earlier, Trisha Yearwood, Winona Judd.
I didn't bring up Gretchen Wilson, though,
Gretchen Wilson, you know, but she's
from here,
from here. There you go. And she's actually got some new stuff coming out again, too. So, yeah, super talented.
And that's 90s. Right.
That's actually 2000.
Okay.
So she was right there at the end of the 90s, but early 2000s. Redneck Woman would have probably been early 2000s.
Okay.
Yeah. She was just really coming on as I was kind of.
I'd like to hear you do Redneck Woman, though. Man. I'm just saying.
Yeah. My wife wouldn't. My wife wouldn't want to hear me do that. Yeah. But so I went through and I made the list, and I came up with 160 songs, Dennis. And I'm like, well, you know, I've been known to play some marathon type shows up at Aries Winery. I think my longest show was a 7.5 hour show. Bruce Springsteen ain't got nothing on me.
Right.
7.5 hour show. But no, I knew I wasn't going to be able to do that, so I had to start whittling them down, and I got it down to around 60 or so songs.
Right.
And like I said, some of these songs I could do in my sleep, while others I'm like, hey, I can't deny that Sammy Kershaw's "Queen of My Double Wide Trailer" is such a huge hit in the 90s, and everybody. But I've never sang that song before in my life, you know. And "My Maria" is a song that I sang. Is a song that I sang, but as you get older, it was hard to sing 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm going to attempt it, but we'll see. I can't make any promises.
I guess there's not any video out of that Star Search performance.
I do have video.
You do?
I do have video.
Because I seen the actions.
You can
video.
maybe, it might actually be on YouTube.
Okay.
I'll see if I can find the link, and I'll send it over to you on Facebook.
Do that, and I'll upload it on our YouTube channel with your permission.
Yeah, absolutely. I know at one point the Toby Keith song was on there. And I believe that's the one that so I thought while the My Maria song got me there,
right,
the Toby Keith song won.
Okay.
That's the one that won.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad we get to break that down a little more than the past. You got so much stuff we can talk about.
Man.
That's why I just skimmed over the Cardinals. I mean, you know.
Yeah, the Cardinals, and like you said, the Blues run. You know, that Stanley Cup run was, oh, man. So I don't get to shoot the Blues as much as I have the opportunity, but I'm just so busy.
Any country guys with the Blues? Any of those guys like country?
Not that I'm aware.
I would be surprised.
Most
I
of
don't
those
know.
guys, I mean, I
They're
don't know how
Canadians
popular country is in
Russian.
Sweden, you know.
Right. exactly. I don't know. Matt Tall did pretty good overseas.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ireland or something like that.
I remember in 97 and 98 when I was making my first runs and going out with Toby Keith that summer, a lot of guys were going over, like Robert Earl Keane and those the Texas guys, that while they were big in Texas, anywhere outside of Texas, they weren't real big. So they would go over to Europe and just be megastars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. Speaking of going over, every time me and you get together, we go over.
We always. It's easy to do.
I appreciate you stopping in, Billy. It's always a good time. And get out
Anytime.
to Riverbend Records. Check that place out. If you love vinyl and you haven't been to Riverbend Records, you're selling yourself way short, folks. Play some Kiss Ping Pong. Or pinball. Sorry.
You could probably play some Kiss Ping Pong. But no, Kiss Pinball, absolutely.
Get you one of them brews.
Yeah.
And cruise around.
We've got the is it the Love Gun vanilla cream?
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of like a cream soda. But
I bet you don't have a copy of that Twisted Sister record.
I don't have that particular one that you showed me. No, that's one of those 12-inch maxi singles. Plays at 45 RPM.
Right.
They sound so good though.
Yeah. A tune on there called 4 Barrel Heart of Love.
Oh, that's that. Never
No
heard
one
that
knew.
one.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah. But you can't stop rock and roll.
You can't stop rock and roll. No.
Thanks again to Billy Hurst. Get out and check him out at Riverbend Records. Check him out August 31st at Roper's Regal Beagle. Check out frontrow-photo.com. And check out Tara's book, or both of them, right?
Yep.
Won't be hard to find, right? Amazon, all that stuff.
Yeah, Amazon. Yeah.
Cool.
And like I said, just look up Tara Hurst on Facebook, and she'll get you taken care of. We've actually got. I think we still have some copies of the physical book at the shop too.
Nice. Yeah. So stop in and check it out. Check it all out right here in our little town, the home of rock and roll. You're out there by Mr. Donuts, who Matt Van Voorhis likes to give his sponsorship to, and we also love Halpin Music, which isn't too far away from you either.
Nope.
Right down the road from Riverbend Records. So thanks once again to Billy Hurst for stopping in and keeping me company on a Thursday night, and keeping y'all company too. Get out and check him out August 31st at Roper's Regal Beagle. And as we say every single weekend, there is so much to do. So why are you sitting at home? Because you can be out supporting local music and art. We'll talk to you next week.